Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology.
Welcome everyone to the Blacks In Technology BITTechTalk podcast. I'm your host, Greg Greenlee. On this episode, we have Saritta Hines, CEO of Trustabit. If this is your first time listening to the Blacks In Technology podcast, this is a podcast show where we talk to people of color who are engineers, innovators, educators, inventors, change makers, entrepreneurs doing amazing things in the world of technology. This podcast is where they share their stories, experiences, ideas, knowledge, and perspective on tech with the Bit community. If this is your first time checking us out, you can find us at www.blacksintechnology.net. We are also on the Twitters at Black In Technology, BLKINTECHNOLOGY. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/Blacks In Technology. Our LinkedIn group under Blacks In Technology, and Instagram also under Blacks In Technology. We are a tech-focused community and media organization, and we're dedicated to increasing the representation and participation of Black women and men in the technology industry. We are always focused on forming new partnerships and opportunities to assist our members with their continued professional growth and development. So if you want to partner with us in any way, if you want to sponsor one of these podcasts, just send us an email to contact us at blacksintechnology.net. So I do want to mention that the Blacks in Technology inaugural conference is happening October 11th through the 13th in the Twin Cities. So check that site out, bitcon2018.com. Tickets are on sale now. We're building a fantastic lineup of speakers. There's going to be workshops. There's going to be panels. There's going to be a pitch competition. So tickets are on sale right now. You can go and purchase yours at bitcon2018.com, /tickets, and purchase your tickets. Come join us. It's going to be a fabulous conference. We're doing some amazing things at the conference. We're having some amazing press. It's going to be a fun time. So joining us tonight on this podcast is Saritta Hines. Saritta Hines has 13 years of experience in data analytics. She is a trusted leader in bridging strategic business initiatives with expert IT implementation. She successfully spearheaded projects in the tech world for industry leaders, including Cymer, Allergen, Bank of Montreal, Novartis, and Dow AgroSciences. Her expertise brings technical innovation and business teams together to transform the customer experience. She is also at the forefront of improving operational efficiency and using blockchain technology to test new use cases. She is the founder and CEO of Trustabit, and she has established a key utility for businesses to streamline the delivery of products and services to customers through smart contracts. We're going to get into that. So I want to welcome Saritta Hines to the show. Saritta, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
My pleasure. So tell us a little bit about yourself. This is kind of our first standard common question. Tell us where you're from. Tell us a little bit about your education and background.
Sure. I was born and raised in Detroit, and I actually played collegiate basketball, and my degree is in computer information systems. And I have two little ones, a 7-year-old girl named Evan, and I have a 3-year-old son named Kai, and I currently reside in Southern California.
Okay, so you say you're from Detroit, so you're I'm in Ohio, so both. Yeah, I know we're born rivals, right?
I'm a Michigan fan.
Right. Excellent. You have two small children. I have two small children myself. They can always be a handful, especially, with the age difference going on there. So that's good. That's good to hear. So you, tell us how'd you get into tech? I know you studied computer information systems in college, but kind of tell us a little bit about your path towards technology.
It was actually my mother who got me into tech. She was, I had to be around, I wouldn't say 7 or 8, around my daughter's age right now, And my mother, she was at community college, and they, as part of the program, they gave her, I think it was like an Apple IIe computer. So one of the first consumer Apple computers. And she brought it home, and I was so excited. And I was like, I want to see how this works. So I immediately opened it, took it apart, broke it. And I just assumed she was going to be mad at me. And, she just came and politely just looked at it and said, well, okay, just fix it. So I spent like the next 2 summers trying to fix it. And it was just like little milestones I had, like putting the pieces back. It was before, the internet or before anything,
Right.
any manual. So I remember like first getting that power button to come back on. And, finally I got it to come back on. And it was that excitement and how I felt. And it stuck with me. So that's how it started.
Very nice. Big up to moms. It's funny because my dad actually bought me my first computer, but it was my mom who was attending community college at the time. She was actually attending community college for accounting, but somehow, and I didn't notice until later on in life. I had told this story 1,000 times, and I couldn't remember. But there was a basic programming book that my mom brought home, and or she had in her collection. I don't know how I even came upon this book, but I just know it was there. I remember it was a real thin, hardback blue book. I remember it distinctly, but I never knew the story about how that book got there. And just recently, I would say probably within the last 2 years, I told my mom this, hey, I tell everybody about this story, where you have this basic programming book. And she told me that because of, they wanted people, I guess, to be kind of computer savvy, that they required that everyone take some type of computer programming course. And this is before it was way mainstream or anything like that. And she said that's how she got the book. And I was just like, oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So big up to moms.
Yes.
So you study computer information systems in college. Can you tell us a little bit about, because you hear the stories of most people, they seem to study computer science. And, I know that there's a distinction between computer information systems and computer science, but tell us kind of how that curriculum prepared you for the real world. And just to give you a little bit, like I know, I studied computer network engineering in college, and because of the type of curriculum that it was a lot of hands-on labs and things like that. It better prepared me from a hands-on standpoint for the real world, as opposed to computer science, which is a lot of theoretical.
It is.
Stuff. So tell us a little bit about that.
That's interesting you say that. So I tried computer science, and I think that's a different type of person to be able to excel at that. And I really tried it, and it didn't stick. Like those Java courses and the C#, it didn't stick with me. So I said, well, okay, let me try computer information systems, because at heart, I'm really good at administration and actually setting up like a network and computer architecture. Like I can set up a server environment really quick with single sign-on and Kerberos. I can do that at the back with my eyes closed. But if I need to actually program something in JavaScript, like I would stare at it and it's like, like this, it doesn't work for me. But it's just like computer information systems. It really taught me how to think outside of the box and think strategically, like while using technology to solve real world problems.
Right. Interesting.
And then also, I was in the military and I was a CTO. So I learned hands-on, like with networking stuff. So I know how to like set up like switches and routers, and I get it. Like that stuff I can do because I can touch it. I can see it and I can feel it. So it played itself really well with my computer information systems background.
Yeah. And just kind of add on, I'm the same way. Like I'm really just now getting it around to really taking to programming because of my job function requires a lot of scripting, a lot of dealing with applications and developers and things like that. But I was the same way. Computer network engineering involved a lot of networking, a lot of systems administration, but that's a lot of hands-on type of work and that type of thing. And I don't know if it was because of the way I process information. Like I'm more of a, I guess, kind of ones and zeros, like it is or it isn't type of person. And so if the theoretical stuff, at times it takes me a lot longer to process and to understand than it does just, hey, like if you do these series of steps like this, right, like then you can get to the end result. So I definitely understand where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So, your LinkedIn page, your bio states that you have 13 years of data analytics experience. So explain to our audience, people who might not know what data analytics is. Tell us a little bit about what it is and how it helps businesses.
I like to explain it as Excel on steroids.
Okay.
So it's just like that. Like if you imagine an Excel spreadsheet, mm-hmm. just imagine like a step up from that. So just imagine like having a lot of data, and a lot of times, a lot of organizations back in the day, they're just used to looking at all that data in just like an Excel spreadsheet. So now there are different companies that they use like data analytics tool or business intelligence tools. Mm-hmm. And those tools can be like Spotfire, ClickView, Tableau. There are a whole host of those tools that allows you to look at that data visually. So now you can just look at it and see like maybe a pie chart or a heat map or a different, and be able to look at your key metrics, mm-hmm. and be able to look at the outliers visually. Same thing or looking at Google Analytics. That's the same thing, to be able to look at your data visually and be able to tell the story.
So as a data analyst, like, what's your job function? Like, how do you take that data and kind of aggregate it and then, I guess run some type of analytics on it in order to like kind of give them that visual representation. Can tell us a little bit about mm-hmm. that process?
So it depends on like the assignment that I'm taking, because I used to during those 13 years, I would take either the administrator role or I would take the developer role. I prefer the administrator role because then that allows me to go in and set up the environment. So I would have to install the servers, and like I talked about earlier, make sure the folder permissions are set up and make sure that there's a single sign-on. So once you sign on to Windows, when you launch like Spotfire, it will automatically know that you're logged in and you wouldn't have to put in your credentials again. Just set up that environment for you automatically. And there's a lot of stuff that happens in the background. So that's the part that I'm more comfortable with. But then also, I can go in and create those dashboards. So I would have like meetings with the client and they would tell me, or a lot of times they would just give me an Excel dashboard and say, well, okay, this is what we're used to seeing. Right. And then I would say, well, okay. And then I would just build it how I would think that it should show. Mm-hmm. And then they would look at it and say, well, okay, well, I'd rather see this on the X-axis and that on the Y-axis. And then it'll just tell the story. So a lot of times I work with pharmaceutical companies where if a patient took a specific drug, right, it'll show like a few patients and it'll show everything that happened to them when they took that drug. So it'll show the medication that they took, if they had any adverse effects, like their blood pressure, and you can see all of that visually. So if you took like a lot of males, this was interesting too. So young males between like the age of like 18 to 22, they're the ones that they sign up for the studies the most because they're trying to get the money to take out women on dates. So they signed up for those trials the most.
Oh, wow.
And then you get to see, that was interesting. I was like, oh, they do. So they take all of these different like drugs to see like what happens with them. Like healthy males sign up for these studies all the time.
Wow.
And then I look at the data and I give it to the physicians, and then they can visually see like what happened to them throughout the length of this study.
The lengths we go to impress.
Yes.
That's interesting. But you know, that's such a great thing. You know, you know, data analytics as a whole, big data and everything like that is such a booming part of technology right now. So it's good to hear, you know, that insight of, you know, that insight as to what, you know, kind of what goes on and the as far as data analytics.
Exactly.
So, you know, your career went from assistant manager of web content team to systems administrator to Spotfire consultant and administrator to analytics platform lead to CEO, right? So kind of give us some insight. Give us, you know, kind of how you made each leap and how you determined what your next step would be. Because a lot of our audience, you know, some of them are just starting out in IT. Some of them are looking to, you know, take that next step and they're not sure how. And your insight would be a great resource and kind of, you know, how to proceed in their career. So, you know, tell us a little about how you prepared for each step, you know, and how you actually achieved your goal.
Okay. You know, I'll be honest. I followed the money, and I saw what the trends were. So, you know, as the assistant manager of a web content team, I said, well, okay, I'm making this much. What do I need to do? I want to get better every year. So what do I need to put on my resume to get me an extra $20,000 a year? Okay. So I need to be able to learn this tool. I learned that. That's how I got to a system administrator. So as a system administrator, you know, it's not really a niche. That's just something that's like almost like a jack of all trades. So then I found out like, okay, data analytics was really hot at that time. So how do I get into that? So I was working at a company called Dow AgroSciences. I found out that we just had this tool called Spotfire that no one was really using. So I talked to my manager at the time and I said, hey, do you think that I could learn this? Sure. Okay. I learned stuff like a video game. So, and my favorite game is Madden. So I said, well, okay. And I looked at it like it was a game, and I played it for like months till I figured it out. I put it on my resume and recruiters started calling like 40 going north. Wow. So once I had that, it was like, well, okay. And I did that for years. And then after that, it was like, well, okay, now that I have that at a certain point, it became the money is fine, but I need something more. And what was more, it was just the knowledge. So it said, well, okay, what do I want to do now? And then I just started, what happened with how I got into blockchain was that I wanted to cut my cable bill. So I got on the internet and said, how do you do this? And then I heard somebody say, well, can you pay me a Bitcoin? And I'm like, what's a Bitcoin? And I just started reading about that. And I go down rabbit holes a lot. And then once I looked down and saw that, I saw this, like a picture of a mining rig. And it looked like a headless computer. And I was like, I can build that. So I went and bought all the parts. And me and my daughter actually built this Ethereum mining rig. And after a while, it just sat there in the corner and it just makes noise and started heating up the house. Right. And it was like, well,
blowing up your energy bill.
Yes, blowing up the energy in Southern California.
Oh,
you know, God. I had to cut that off.
Right, because you actually don't need the heat if you're in Southern California. Now, if you were in Detroit, that would be right on time for those cold winters.
Yes. So I wanted to learn about the underlying technology, which was blockchain. Mm-hmm. And then I was trying to figure out, well, okay, how can which industry hadn't been disrupted yet. And we found out that it was escrow and transportation. So we started figuring out like, well, which one did we want to get into? And it just happened to be transportation. So that was pretty much how the evolution went.
Interesting. And I like your honesty in saying, hey, I followed the money. Right. At the end, and that's just 100% being real. Because at the end of the day, you can be as passionate as you want to be, but you have to make a living. You have to support your family. And so I like the fact that you set those incremental goals for yourself and found ways to achieve them. I think that's very instrumental in moving up in your career. A lot of people, especially, not to pick on millennials, but millennials will come out and say, I want to make $100,000 a year. And, for us old school people like myself, it's like I went from help desk to network administrator or network technician, I should say, to systems administrator, to systems engineer, to DevOps engineer. And it wasn't, in each I guess level, I had a plan, and that plan, whether it was to move up in knowledge or move up in my career, always came with a dollar amount. So exactly. Hey, I want to make $20,000 extra this year. By the time I get here, I want to be making six figures. By the time I get here, I want to be making six figures plus. Like it's motivation for where you want to be in your career. But I never discount the passion. Of course, you have to have the passion because, as well as I do in IT, if you don't have passion, the passion to learn and keep learning, like you might as well just sit, in your career before it even starts. Cause that's really a lot of it is what it's all about. And you're a testament to that. Your curiosity led you to, breaking a computer and then fixing it. And led you to, going to school for computer information systems and then, the blockchain thing of, hey, what is this blockchain technology? And led you down that rabbit hole. And you kept searching and researching until you came up with an idea for your business. So that passion to learn is very, very instrumental.
The passion will lead you there. And that amazes me with millennials too. And it's like, I know people like that. And it's like, oh, I want to make $200,000 a year. And I'm like, hey, like you got to take steps there. Like you need to be there. There's a process with this and you need to know how to follow before you can lead. Like everybody wants to be the queen, but nobody wants to follow the queen. Like how does that work?
Yeah. I try to tell my daughter that all the time. So let me ask you this: what during your career progression, what is give us like a few things, maybe the top three most important things that you've learned during your career progression. Like as you moved up the chain, what are kind of three things that come to mind that you can say, these are the most important things that I've learned along the way?
Oh, and these things I never forget. You need to cut the dead weight quickly.
Okay, explain that.
Company. Red flags, you see them immediately, and those are things that you don't ignore. And if you let it fester, it'll ruin you in some type of way. So if you see it in the beginning, politely just cut it, let it go. You guys can still remain friends, but your business is your baby and treat it that way. Politely cut it off in the beginning, because if you don't, it's gonna ruin some aspect in your business a few months down the way. And you could have got rid of it in the beginning and you guys can still be friends. But just cut dead weight real quickly.
Okay.
The second thing is company culture is a must. Like set that in the beginning. Mine is plan, anticipate, and execute flawlessly. Anybody know me know I will plan to the fullest. Like my my end plan goal is that if none of this works out, I'm moving to Montana to work in the bacon oil fields.
The what fields? I've never heard of it.
You know, that's where they do fracking
Okay.
at. That's where they found oil at.
Wow, okay.
Because almost anybody can get a job up there.
I'm writing that down just in case things don't go my way. We're moving to Montana, family.
It's just, you know, I always have to have a plan. Right. So it's you need to be able to set your company culture. If not, like everybody else will set it for you, and then you'll wonder, well, what happened? This is not me. And it's like, well, you didn't set it. No one knew what to follow. Right. And LinkedIn is your best friend. I've had so many connections from LinkedIn. It's just amazing. Like the way you can network from LinkedIn, or just being able to join those groups that matter to your company. It's just amazing.
Excellent. And thanks for that that advice. Definitely appreciate that. So now you're the CEO of Trustabit. So as a CEO, kind of tell us, you know, what your day-to-day looks like.
My day-to-day is I'm always focused on the next move, and I'm worrying, or I'm always thinking about my dev team. I'm worrying or thinking about how we're going to get our product out, and how we're going to fundraise, how we're going to get our first investor. It's always nerve-wracking because we speak to a lot of VCs, and we always hear, like, you know, we love the product, we love the idea, we want to get in, but we don't want to be the lead investor. So it's always it's nerve-wracking to have that high, and it's like, oh, okay, great. You know, this VC, you know, that, you know, their check sizes are like at least like $500K, but then they say they don't want to be the lead investor. It's like, okay, so what do we do now? So that's my main focus, is trying to find funding and keep us afloat.
Interesting. So you're fundraising. You're planning strategically. You're keeping your dev team, on top of things. And so, you know, that consists of what, like meetings, like what, like, you know, how are you staying on top of your dev team? Like what's the kind of, I guess, workflow of dealing with your dev team?
We meet with them once a week, and I meet with my other team. I mean, I talk with them pretty much like every day, and we're all kind of scattered. We're in New Zealand. We're in India, some in California, Israel. So it's just adjusting to those time frames. Still being mom, and, you know, trying to have my goofball island with the kids and cooking. So it's a lot, but I've been managing it quite well for these past 8 months. So I'm doing good.
Excellent. So tell us, you know, what is Trustabit? Like, can you tell us a little bit about what problem does Trustabit solve?
Great question. So if you can remember that flight that you once had that was delayed, I'm sure it took probably around 2 phone calls and 3 months before you got a voucher for a $50 discount on your next flight. And then as a kicker, only to be used in the next 12 months. So Trustabit is going to change all that. We use smart contracts to issue vouchers quickly, easily, securely, and on the spot. And these vouchers can be redeemed at numerous locations.
Okay, so tell what's a smart contract? Tell us a little bit about the difference between, you know, a regular voucher that you'd receive from the airlines and a smart contract. What are the benefits of that?
The way you receive a voucher right now with the airline is that it's not automatic. And oftentimes you would have to call them and wait to receive it. Now, what we would do is that we would use the technology. We would be using blockchain, and one of the best features with blockchain is smart contracts. Now, smart contracts are these self-executing contracts that contain the terms of the agreement between two parties, and it's directly written into the lines of the code.
Okay.
So what we do is like we use smart contracts to automatically issue those digital vouchers to the passengers when their flights are delayed or canceled. Now, this reduces processing time, so it's almost immediate payouts. It reduces costs. There's no paperwork involved. And unlike call centers at large airlines, smart contracts don't need to be paid or housed in skyscrapers.
So you're putting people out of jobs.
I didn't say that.
No, so let me see if I understand kind of how this works. So, a person purchases an airline ticket, and there's, a certain I accept this agreement type of thing that happens. And within that, there's there's blockchain technology interwoven into that, right? So, and then if their flight is canceled, then it automatically kind of triggers this blockchain technology to issue you your immediate refund because it's tied to you and it's tied to that agreement that's only tied to you. Is that?
Exactly. So as soon as you said it perfectly. So as soon as you purchase that ticket and that condition is set into the smart contract to say that, okay, Saritta just bought this ticket and I know that she's a high value passenger. She takes all these flights per year. So the airline they're going to make sure that I'm taken care of. Now, if her flight is delayed for more than 2 hours, that smart contract is going to automatically issue her a voucher. So she doesn't need to call in and no one at the call center needs to process this. It's going to automatically happen.
You hear that, call center people? Trustabit is coming for you. No, but
now the same can be this same technology can be used for parametric insurance. Now, just imagine like what happened in Puerto Rico, like how like a lot of people are still waiting to get paid out for their insurance. Now, one of our verticals that we're going to be using this for is for parametric insurance. So you can buy a policy, like when we partner like with the company, like a big insurance company. So we would partner with them. So you would buy an insurance policy from the insurance company, but it's powered by Trustabit. So you would, let's say like, it would be flood insurance, hurricane insurance. Now that smart contract is getting data from like a trusted data source. So let's say like the National Association of whoever. Now, once they get that data that says, oh, we picked up some information that it's 155 miles an hour per wind that's going on in this area. It feeds that data to the smart contract. That's a triggering event. The smart contract sees it and it automatically pays you let's say like $10,000 at that point. So see all that time that it took out. No one needs to process it. There's no paperwork involved. You don't even need to wait for like an adjuster to come out and say, oh, okay, a hurricane did happen. We know it happened because it's all on the news telling us that it's getting ready to happen and it's a total devastation that's happening.
And so I guess that leads to how and I'm not trying to disparage insurance companies at all. And maybe I'm off base. Maybe insurance companies don't actually work like this, but sometimes it's I know it's difficult there can be difficulties in getting paid out, and I don't know if that's due to like the processing and things like that, or if it's due to kind of how insurance does business. Like I'm just wondering kind of how insurance companies are taking, this type of thing. Are they looking at you like, well, we don't like paying out people at all, and so why would we use your technology? Or are they saying like, hey, this is a game changer, this is groundbreaking, this is going to do X, Y, Z for us, and it might actually save us time and money. Like, how's that interaction been?
It's been actually good. So remember when I said that smart contracts don't need to be paid or housed in a
Okay.
skyscraper?
Yeah.
So just think, how much would it cost to send out those
Right.
adjusters? How much do they get paid a
Mm.
year? And how often do hurricanes happen?
Right.
So when you factor in that and how many adjusters it would take, all that paperwork, and then how many people that they need in a call center for that, they're actually saving money.
So adjusters and call center people, you're on full notice right now. Trustabit is coming for you. That's excellent. I mean, just to see, the technology being used in that way to really disrupt industries, and seeing a Black woman, at the forefront of that, I think is absolutely incredible. So, kudos to you for this venture.
Thank you. And it's also good for people. Just think of the people in Africa who can't afford that expensive crop insurance, but they can afford like a small portion of it. So, I mean, it's really like distributing wealth. Like they can afford like micro insurance as well.
Interesting. So, I mean, we've been talking about, smart contracts, and we've been throwing around the term blockchain. Well, and we really haven't defined it. So can you give us like, your definition of just a little explanation of what blockchain even is?
Sure. So, blockchain basically is a record of transactions that's maintained by a decentralized network via a consensus protocol. And if you're still kind of like, just that, sis, basically, if I wanted to send you, let's say, $50,000 right now from California and you're in New York, I can send it to you and you'd have it in, let's say, less than 5 minutes. And what we just did is that no one knew that Saritta sent it to you. I didn't have to use a third party, which is like a bank or PayPal, and no one knew that I sent it. And that's pretty much like the essence of blockchain on a financial scale.
Interesting. So how is that affecting like businesses and society, like as a whole? Like, where do you see this blockchain technology going?
My favorite example is turning consumers into prosumers. So just imagine when we talked about like data analytics and how that's a big thing, the reason it's a big thing is because of that one word, data. Data is like the biggest thing. I remember a couple of days ago in Detroit, they had somebody pulled this scam that said on the 4th of July, come down to this courthouse and you can get a free house if you just promise to fix it up. All you need to do is just sign up for it. What they did, they collected all of your data, but people didn't understand how valuable that was. I said, listen, they have this urban data on you. They know that urban populations buy certain things regardless of how much income they have. So now they can start suggesting you with certain ads that you may buy. So by turning you into a prosumer means that, well, okay, you have this certain data about me. I can decide that I can sell it to you for a certain amount, or I can lease it to you. So you may want to know that I'm a Black female. I stay in this part of the world, and this is my blood pressure. And, I'll probably wear like a Nike, one of those biometric devices on my arm, and I'll wear it for 30 days. And every day, let's say you would pay me 10 cents to wear it. Yeah, I'll do that. You can take my biometric data, but you don't get any other information about me besides what I want to sell you. Who wouldn't do that? So with this, that's what blockchain allows you to do, is like these micro payments that they can send you directly to your wallet. So that's what I'm really interested in, is making us, have us coming from consumers and turning us into prosumers.
Interesting. So so prosumers, is that, is that like proactive, like proactive consumerism? Is that kind of where that comes from? Like, you're proactively like, you know, kind of advertising or proactively kind of trying to offer, people, kind of what they want or what what that they would consume.
Yes. So I can be able to sell that data back to you.
Very interesting.
So I'm like involved in the design and the development of this product. And because I'm involved in it, you're paying me for it. Because we know data is really big. It's so valuable. And right now we're giving it away for free.
Data is king.
It's king, and it's amazing. I had another job where I was selling hair. Like I'm always trying to do something. And I was trying to buy a data set. And it amazed me that this specific data set that I wanted that probably had like maybe 4,000 people on it, they wanted to sell it to me for like $20,000. And it's like, well, and it was a trusted data set from this big company called Axiom. I'm like, well, how did they get this? But if you think about it, I mean, I'm sure you remember. You remember back in the day when they said, hey, do you want to buy these CDs? Pick all these CDs and they're all for a penny. So what they were doing even then was like, well, okay, there's people in this household like all of these CDs or like all of these books. Like they were doing that then, and it went straight to that company.
And at that time, of course, I'm just thinking it's a terrible commercial to get you to try to buy it. Buy a bunch of CDs or records at the time. Wow.
Yes, but it was all about the data.
Interesting. So, kind of tell us a little bit about, what's next for you, for Trustabit, the company.
What's next for me is I'm going to step out there and do some more more speaking engagements where I'm not just on the panel, where it's just actually me by myself speaking like 20, 25 minutes.
I do know of this one conference called Bit Conference, that the BitCon 2018 that's coming up.
It's in Minnesota, right?
Yeah, submit a talk. We're securing. At this point, we're locking down our sponsorships, and we're trying to make it attractive for speakers. By offering like stipends and things of that nature to bring out speakers from out of town and things like that. But we would love for you to submit a talk and come out and speak. I think what you're doing with your company, what you're doing as far as blockchain, is something that our community needs to hear. They need to know how to get involved in this industry, not just the tech industry, but blockchain, to be more specific. And I think you could provide a talk that would really help people kind of see the light. On top of that, like we. Here at Blacks in Technology, we like to tout ourselves as being very technically savvy. And this conference itself is a tech conference, right? So what I mean by that, and this is not to knock anybody else or anybody who's having a conference, this is not a quote unquote diversity conference. Our job and what we're doing, our actions are tackling diversity by bringing people together in the community and offering them a platform to be able to highlight our skill sets and highlight our successes and achievements. But we're not here to ask for permission or ask to be at the this is, hey, we're here. We do this. These are the things we're doing. We're just as tech savvy as anybody else on the planet, and this is our conference to showcase that and to celebrate Black, as we call it, Black tech excellence. So, this conference is a technical conference. We do have there's entrepreneurship involved, but there's also a day of just tech talks, entrepreneurship, tech entrepreneurship, innovation and engineering, tech in your community, tech in your career, or your career in tech. So we really are going to focus on the technical audience. Okay.
I definitely would be interested in that. That's That's one of the things I was talking to my team about when I said I wanted to get out there more. And I said, hey, like, I don't want to go. Like I said, no knock to anyone else who's doing like one of these conferences. I'm not knocking anybody else's hustle, but I don't want to go to a conference where it's just hip hop. And then we talk a little bit about tech, or it's everything else. And then we do a little bit of tech. It's like, if we don't talk about tech, I want to talk about tech. Like, I don't want to mess up our brand like that.
I mean, if that's what you're looking for, this is the conference to do it at. Seriously. So I definitely invite you to, I mean, I'll contact you after this and just say, hey, and not even, put a middleman of going through of you submitting a paper. I'll just contact you and say, hey, we want you to talk. We want you to speak, what's the topic? And then we'll onboard you to be a speaker. We'll do that. Excellent.
I appreciate that.
So before we jump out of here, let everyone know, give us some parting words that you want our audience to take away, and also give out your, how people can get in contact with you, how they can check out the website, all that good stuff.
Sure, definitely. I would say my parting words is nobody ever said this was going to be easy, and don't you ever quit. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Medium, Trustabit, Trustabit.io is the website. You can email me, Saritta, Saritta, @Trustabit.io. And
really
thanks for having me.
Saritta, the best of luck to you and Trustabit. And like I said, I'll be in contact soon about speaking at BitCon 2018. And thanks a lot for your participation tonight. All right, take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
And that does it for this episode of the Blacks in Technology BITTechTalk podcast. Thanks to our guest, Saritta Hines. Really enjoyed having her join us tonight and share her experience and her journey and information about her company. And we want to thank everyone for listening. You can check us out at www.blacksintechnology.net. Definitely check out the Blacks in Technology conference site at bitcon2018.com. And if you have any suggestions, you want to suggest someone to come on to our show, send us your ideas or suggestions to contact us at blacksintechnology.net. That's it for this podcast. And like always, tech yourself before you wreck yourself. Thanks a lot. Good night.
Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology.